Hey everyone, my name is Cilian Perret, and I will be going over child abuse awareness with you all today, and I hope you enjoy it. So the first thing I want us to do is actually look at this video that I found on YouTube by Mo and E.T. It's called Child Abuse Between Races. It's a social experiment, and I just want to know your feedback and what you think of the video. Yeah, so click pause and then watch the video, then click play. So since you watched the video, I really want to know your feedback on the video and what did you think and the different ways that the parents were interacting with the child and the way the bystanders, I'll say, were interacting with the parents or the child. And what do you think about that? And do you feel like the way it was handled can be changed? If so, how? I'd really love your feedback on that. The author Capuzzi from the Youth at Risk book we're reading says that the Congress defined child abuse and neglect as the physical and mental injury, sexual abuse, negligent treatment, or maltreatment of a child under the age of 18 by a person who is responsible for the child's welfare under circumstances that indicate the child's health or welfare is therefore harmed or threatened. There are four different types of child abuse. There's physical, psychological or emotional, neglect, and sexual. If you could pick between the four, which kind of abuse do you think is most common? If you think that it is neglect, then you have chosen the right one. Neglect is the most common type of abuse. Physical abuse is defined as deliberate aggressive actions on the child that inflicts pain on them. Neglect is the absence of parental care. Psychological and emotional abuse is defined as behavior that's towards a child that can cause mental anguish or deficits. And sexual abuse is any type of behavior towards a child that is intended for an offender's sexual stimulation. Signs of physical abuse tend to be visual and also behavioral. The child can show symptoms of bruises, blisters, burns, cuts, and scratches, and definitely different other symptoms. And they can also have broken bones, sprains, and dislocated joints that are unexplainable. Of course, children can hurt themselves, but when you ask them, why is your arm broken again? And they're like confused, like, and can't explain it, that can be a sign of abuse. There also can be aggression towards their peers, their pets, or even other animals. Whenever you talk about their parent, they seem a little too afraid of them, where they feel fearful of even going home, or if they have fear, withdrawal, depression, and anxiety. Statistics show that 28.3% of adults report being physically abused as a child. Signs of neglect can be when the child is either overweight or underweight and their development is a little delayed, or even if the child is constantly sick and tired all the time. The hygiene of the child could be very poor, or they don't have the proper clothes for the season. Like if it's the winter time and it's snowing outside and the only thing they have to cover themselves is a sweater. Those things can be seen as negligence from the parent's point. A parent can be negligent because they are continually unavailable for their child. And the crazy thing is that we usually see negligence by someone who is mentally unstable or is an addict of like drugs or alcohol. But those aren't the only things that can make somebody be negligent toward their child. Their job could be consuming, an activity that they're doing. If they have a significant other that it has more value to them than the child, is basically the extent that they are rarely available for their child and caring for their basic needs. Sexual abuse can be a tough one. With sexual abuse, the child could have fearful behavior, unusual fears. They have nightmares. They constantly tell you about their nightmares. they have depression, the child wants to run away, if they have abdominal pain, bedwetting, UTIs, genital pain or bleeding, STDs, STIs, and if the child is extremely sexual for their age and is inappropriate. The scary thing about sexual abuse is that many times people may have a set way that the offender may look, right? And the scary fact is that a lot of the times when children are getting sexually abused, it is actually by their relatives. And these relatives may be people you may not even expect for it to happen. So when a child does tell you something that is questionable about, like, auntie touched me, or uncle or daddy or mommy or grandpa or any type of family member, don't automatically say, no, this person is way too nice. You should really listen and understand that it can be anyone. When it comes to emotional abuse or psychological abuse, I honestly don't believe that it gets enough attention. And I don't think people understand the amount of damage it can do to a child. When you see a child not care much about what's going on around them, or they're like numb to pain and it's like pain is normal for them, or they avoid particular parents, they're fearful than normal, they're not doing well in school, or they tend to hurt themselves on purpose. These could be signs of emotional or psychological abuse. An example of psychological abuse or emotional abuse would be when a parent constantly tells you you're not good enough, when a parent constantly downplays your achievements, when you feel like you can never make your parents satisfied, when they target you about your size, your choice of religion, your choice of your sexual orientation, or anything along those lines of whatever you want, they find a way to make that seem of lesser value. And it could impact a child because it changes the way they think about themselves. It changes the way they think about people around them, and it can change the way they think about God Himself. These consequences can range from short-term to long-term, where it's head trauma, impaired brain development. The child could have low IQ scores and difficulty with language. They can be at risk for grade repetition, and even growing into their teens, they can suffer substance abuse. They can become a delinquent and become pregnant at a young age and have their own abusive behavior. But these children do not have to be a product of their environment, and they do not have to have these consequences, and they do not need to suffer more than they need to. And we help by speaking up for them, by listening to them, and by reporting when it's necessary, and making sure that we create safe environments for these youth. And when there is a chance we can make a difference, we should always make the difference for them. We've learned the what, and now it's time to learn about the how to. What do you do in these situations? The first thing you need to do is to be aware. You open your eyes to the youth that you're working with, and you look at the symptoms, if they do have them, and you look at the way they behave. Have they changed? Is there something wrong? You constantly talk to the parent to see where their mindset is at. Also, a great thing that can also be done is become a mandated reporter. There's an actual online training program that I took before, and it's a program that you can take. I believe it's free. I took it for free. I don't know if it was just for my job, but that's another job that you can do to make sure that you are helping to prevent child abuse. Also, inciting the youth that you work with and the parents what a healthy relationship may be. They may have not grown into a great relationship with their parents, and it may be trickling down to their kids. So when they are incited and when they do learn different ways and different outlets to use in these situations, that can be really helpful. Also, find local groups and programs that will aid children who may be at risk. It can be difficult to extend it because it's a child and there needs to be parents, but when it's that serious, we need to get that serious. And Pray, 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 pray. Always pray. Ask God for discernment and understanding and a way to be led in these situations. Thank you so much for taking part in my research of child abuse. The last few minutes is actually a poem that I wrote while doing research, and I just pray that it moves your heart to not only just listen, but to pray for the youth and families that can be going through this, or people we may not even know, because child abuse is a real issue, and when it's not dealt with, it can really hinder people, and it can really make people feel like they're trapped. And in Christ, we all know that there's freedom, and we know that when we come to know more knowledge, that now we are held accountable. So I pray that with the knowledge that you use, that you be wise with it. Have a great day, everyone. There's a place other than home. There's a place other than home. E.T., please phone home, because she can't take all this pain. She can feel it in her bones. The bruises, the wounds, she can still remember the shoe Daddy threw at her. She didn't know what to do. Daddy threatened her if she left, he'd hurt her so bad she wouldn't be able to move. Mommy is so scared unemployment checks won't be able to take care of her and her kid. So now she sits there praying one day these one-man boxing matches will end. She keeps crying out, remember when we were friends, remember how you said you loved me since you were 10. Remember how you said we would make it until the end. She didn't realize that this would be her end. Her face meets his hand. His hand takes her breath away. Their daughter is screaming, Mommy, please stay. Don't go. Don't give up on me. You're all I need. Just don't let him take your breath away. Hold on just a little bit longer. Then we can run away. I promise. I promise I won't be afraid of the rain or the thunder. God, please help my mom. I'm not ready for her to go 6 feet under. Because if she goes, I'm going with her too. See, this can be the mindset of a child who has been abused. This can be one of your youth. Don't let this poem be words you just hear, but let it be something that moves you to do something.